Welcome back to Bite Size Talks. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about first date red flags. My name is Gary. With co-hosting with me today is Julian. Say what's up, man.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Joop or Julian. On this episode, we're going to be talking about red flags, like Gary said. I told a bunch of you what are your red flags. And also joining us today is Leona.
What's up, guys? Glad to be back again for another new episode. Let's hit it off.
All right, Julian. So why don't you start us out with just what's everybody's on the same page as what a red flag is? Because there's green flags, yellow flags, red, black flags. So today we're talking about just red flags.
So red flags is something that you notice from someone that you are having your date with, and you say, you know what, that is not someone continue dating, or it's something that I don't like in person. So it's a red flag if someone, I don't know, something stupid, choose with their mouth open. Like for some people that's it. And for me that's it, honestly. But
Hey, Kevin,
it's things that you don't like.
I don't know, Kevin. That sounds more like a ick than a red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, a pet peeve could turn into a red flag if it bothers
Yeah.
you enough and you ignore it. That's a red flag.
Yeah, honestly it does. So
I think a red flag to me is something like if you notice it, like you could potentially go, but yet it's a, like extreme caution. Like
yeah.
the next little thing could tip the scales for you. Like you know what, fuck it, I'm done. Because to me, if it's that one thing on its own, to me that's a black flag. Like
Yeah, that's true.
let me get out of here.
Yeah, but too many red flags, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Why the fuck are you eating with your mouth open?" And it's like such an innocent thing. It's like, "I'm just eating." Like it's an
Yeah.
accumulation of all these red flags that just tick you off. So we're
It
gonna be
does
talking.
compound.
Yeah. So we're gonna be talking about red flags. I put out a poll on Instagram and want to see what everybody else thought the red flags were. Just because I didn't want to get a generic list from Google. But first, I want to start off with YouTube. What are your red flags?
All right, so I'll list one here. So again, these are red flags that like I think you'd pick up on a first date or conversation with somebody. And this is like no sense of humor / taking themselves too seriously the whole time.
Good.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That's pretty good. For me, it would probably, and I've been in this situation before, so I recognize this as a red flag. On a first couple of dates with somebody, if they keep talking about their ex, definitely a red flag. Sounds
Yeah.
like they got a lot of baggage they haven't dealt with, and they should probably deal with that before getting into another relationship. Because otherwise, they're going to put that all on you and they're going to project onto you.
Put something similar. Can't be goofy.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, yeah, no sense of humor. Like, if I get a hit with my girl, like, come on, like, we gotta have fun. We gotta like enjoy ourselves. We can't just be like serious all the time.
And to me, I think a part of that is like I've met people who they can joke about other people,
Yeah,
but as soon as you put the joke on them, it's an attack, it's an offense.
yeah,
And to me, it's like you can't be if you're gonna throw that energy out, you got to be willing for some of it to come back to you. Because otherwise, if it coming back to you hurts, then it's like you're not sending it out from the right place. Because like I'm always talking trash and shit with people. So I say like if I'm not joking about you, like that means I probably don't like you at all. Because like my jokes come from the heart. So I don't know. It's always telling to me when you like say the smallest little joke about them, like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, we've been dogging on people all day. And now that I said the one little joke about you, you're gonna like get hurt about it. Like, come on.
So
They do need to be humble and have a sense of humility.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have
So I
one.
got to go ahead.
Sorry, I have one that might be a little controversial, but let's see how you guys feel about it. People who are into astrology and crystals.
Oh no. Big red flag.
Like I don't want to be dating someone that's like leaving rocks outside overnight so the moon can charge them. Like, the fuck you mean it's gonna charge them? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, you also don't want to date somebody who thinks that you're a great match for them just because of your horoscope.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, Hoolies, I think with that comment, you might have lost us a subscriber.
I mean, if two people are into that and they find each other, then by all means. But I feel like it shouldn't be the deciding factor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Uh,
And that subscriber is probably lost, Like,
yeah.
going back on that. Yeah,
Uh,
no, like if you're both into it and you're both like interested in it, cool. Like that's a match. But
yeah.
yeah, no, I don't want to be basing my decisions on astrology.
So for me, a red flag for me is somebody who's too into horror films.
Oh yeah, that's also weird and creepy, especially
Yeah,
like
Like,
gory
cause
ones and like torture gore. I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I do like scary movies, and I think there's some nice classical ones like Jason Voorhees and like Freddy, some like haunting ones, but like the torture gore ones, if you're like really into those, I feel like that's a serious red flag, and I should be kind of scared.
like for me, it's like you should be able just to chill and like watch a rom com or a comedy, something on a Friday. It shouldn't be like, oh fuck, another one. Damn.
want some anime here and
Yeah.
there.
There's plenty of
Uh,
anime horrors too out there.
There it
uh,
is.
horror or horrors?
Both at the same
Uh,
time. With
well,
anime, the same time.
yeah. What's another one on your list, Leona?
Okay, so someone who has a problem with spending money on you. Like if they're
Okay.
cheap or they keep mentioning like how something is expensive. There's one thing if you think it's expensive, but there's another thing if you keep complaining about how it's expensive. Like just don't get it. Or like don't talk about it, especially on first few dates. It's just like you don't want to give that kind of vibe off.
Don't say no.
Especially from a woman's perspective, I think that if he's getting something for you, that's nice. But if he's getting something for you and he's also complaining about how expensive that is, for me, that feels like he doesn't think you're worth it, or at least that's how it comes off. But also, like, it's just like it doesn't feel good anymore. Like you're getting that gift and it feels good, but then you start talking about how expensive it is, and it's just like the moment has passed.
I think that kind of plays into people who are giving you gifts that are beyond their means of giving at that time, right? And
Not
because
not, not always though. Because sometimes it could be like a pack of chips, and they could be like, "Oh my god, it's $4." And it's like, okay, just get it for
okay,
me or don't get it for me. But like, why do you have to sell? Why do you have to do that?
Just say you're broke, bitch.
okay, yeah, I would say, yeah, I think that's definitely a red flag. If somebody's like he's complaining about, I was thinking of like, oh, if you're saying he bought you a gift, I'm like, I can see if he's like, oh, I want to buy her something nice, and she said she really liked this sweater, but it was $120, and I don't know, that's kind of a lot for me. Like I'm in grad school, so like I can't spend money on shit. So my gifts have to come from the heart to make that $20
That's
gift seem
fine.
worthwhile. But oddly enough, on the other one I had for this conversation, I put too concerned about money. There's recently I was talking to some girl and she's like, oh, so like what are you studying in graduate school? And like I was, oh, essentially I'm getting a PhD in chemical engineering. And she's like, oh, like that pays well though, right? And I'm like, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, yeah, I can. She's like, but like how well? And I'm like, one, I get it. Like you want part of the dating thing is finding somebody who's going to be a match moving forward, and you want to make sure they're career driven. But it's like you can't Google search earning potential PhD chemical engineering. Like it was just lazy to me for one. But two, it was just like there's so many other questions you can ask about somebody's career ambitions to get an idea of what their potential, like, oh, so like what would you want to do? Would you want to open up your own company with that? Would you want to do this? Like But she was really trying to get like me to say a dollar amount, and I was just like, fuck this. No,
Yeah.
I'm playing it down at this point because I've never been one of those braggadocious dudes, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
Another one that's kind of, I think more so nowadays is you hear people saying like, oh, I wouldn't date a Democrat or I wouldn't date a Republican. But a red flag for me would be someone who's a politics extremist, like either side. Like if you're too much to your left or too much to the right, like that is too much. I like someone who's in the middle who can like have a discussion about things and not get triggered by it, or be able to say, oh, well, it's weird that they say that, but I don't agree with it. It's just someone who's very extremist in that sense. It's not good.
You know that I had one that was similar to that. Didn't make my top three for our discussion, but it was overly religious or total atheist. Like I think like the two extremes where it's like they don't want to believe in anything and have no faith in like the universe versus like God does absolutely everything in your life and everything's predetermined
Yeah.
and Noah's Ark was real and humans and dinosaurs were together because like fuck. I'm all for having your belief and if that makes you a better person, I'll go to church on Easter and Christmas with you,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to church every Sunday and Tuesday for Bible study. Like that's I can't commit to that. But to me that felt I almost felt like either too religious or too into politics because I feel like those are just it's good to have interest in them. Like I think it can bring balance to a person, but when that's their identity, I think that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So let's go over what the people said. Um, I kind of ranked them by how often they were said. Granted, I only expected two answers out of this, and the fact that I got more than two answers, dude, I was stoked. So thank you to everybody that answered this. I was excited about this. Um, but something that kind of goes with like what everybody said is talking to their ex or being friends with their ex. A lot of people said that, which makes sense. I mean, if it's your ex,
Mhm.
you probably should have moved on at that point. It shouldn't be someone that you keep in contact with. Um,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe that exes can be friends because once you've licked and seen each other's genitals, I don't think you could go back to the friend zone after that.
I
yeah.
one I thought I swear if you would have said buttholes, I would have lost it. I thought I swear to I was like she said lick and scene. I was like if she the next word is buttholes. That's gonna be too much. Yeah.
Let's just be blunt about it, okay? Like
Yeah.
you've gone past the friend zone. You've seen each other naked. You're not friends anymore. You're not going back to
Yeah.
friends. There's always
I
going to
think
be feelings that come back. You spend time together. You remember certain things. Like it's. I don't believe the whole friend thing after that. No.
yeah. Yeah.
I think that's like for any level of like relationship or friend, it's always hard to regress and like keep things at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless
Once
you like completely have a memory loss of that entire
yeah,
relationship or anything you had with that person.
yeah. Because I think even if it's like you had a close friend and you used to talk all the time and then you just never talk to him at all. Like you I don't know, to me it fundamentally changes its you can always scale up and it's harder to scale back friendships. And with some of time I mean it could be like okay, you're no longer roommates, and one person lives in Kentucky now, and the other person lives in New Mexico, where they said they'd never want to live.
Oh, is that true?
It's kind of a little personal. Hold on.
Yeah. Um, no, but I think there is something to that, to where like mine and Julian's friendship has obviously been maintained, but uh, I think there's sometimes where like if you're really good friends with somebody, then like just to go to like casual, like oh hey, how's it going, da da da, how's the weather conversation when
yeah.
you used to be able to approach and be like, dude, you won't guess what fucking happened today. And then you let them know like the real story, like going from a real conversation to that superficial conversation to me feels so fake that I'd be like, what's the point of even? I don't know. It just
It's a
seems
whole.
disingenuous when you once you lose that realness there.
Yeah, there becomes a hole, and you can feel that hole. It's just a giant void between you.
That's a good analogy. uh, let's see. Um, one that I thought was kind of interesting. It's more Gen Z is being illiterate, asking for Snapchat right away, divorce, and talking about exes. So the whole thing about asking for Snapchat, why would that be something that's a red flag?
Well, Snapchat is something where the conversation gets deleted, from what I remember. And it's not exactly the most popular thing for people to usually ask as a first way of contact, right?
That makes
Like
sense.
usually a phone number, or like if they want to be more low key, they could ask you for an Instagram. Although for me, asking me for my Instagram is a red flag, because when I first got on Hinge and people would ask me for my Instagram, it would just be like they would just follow me on Instagram and then just never say anything to me again. They would just stalk me and simp for me through Instagram, and it's just so weird.
Huh,
No more Instagram.
that makes sense.
Just ask me for my phone number.
I know some girls who they're hesitant to give out their phone number because now they get text messages or calls obsessively from a guy, and it's harder to block that than I guess your phone number. Like, I mean, I know some people who like they've gotten to the point where they have changed their phone number, and like, I mean, I've been lucky. I've had the same phone number for like 20 years now. Um, but like, I think that's a more personal connection. Like, I know, like in academia, when I'd be like, oh, hey, we got five of us got put into a group. The first general exchange was always email addresses. So that was like less personal than a phone number. I can see that's like why people would ask for like a Snapchat, but I think that also just gives like fuckboy energy.
Yeah, and that was my thinking. Like Snapchat, yeah, I guess it's more personal. The conversations get deleted, but asking for social media for me was less personal than asking for a phone number. And
Yeah.
so for me, like asking for Snapchat, like I guess. Um,
That's actually very interesting, because a phone number is a phone number, right? It's just a digits where you can access someone via voice. But with your social media, if you actually are active in your social media, which is the only reason you would give out your social media, they have access to so much more information. Like all of your friends, like everything you've been doing. It seems it like, just thinking about it now, it seems like it's more personal because there's just so much more activity to be seen.
yeah,
I don't know. I think if you have a chick who's like a private investigator in her as a hobby for in her spare time, she might be able to use her phone number to like cross reference your information to figure out like, oh, hey, he lives in this neighborhood now. You know.
Yeah, but people are willing to just give out that information instantaneously on Instagram and other social
Yeah.
media.
The one part, the part that stood out to me, Cabron, is when you read that you said people are illiterate.
yeah. So let me read it again. Being illiterate, asking for Snapchat right away, divorced, which at my age is kind of hard not to, for people not to be divorced or having kids at this point.
Yeah.
You're talking about exes.
But like, how many people? What people are out there dating that can't read? Like, am I misinterpreting that?
I
I
mean,
mean,
they're out there, especially
Like,
with like autocorrect. A lot of people just. I think for me, a pet peeve would be if they just constantly misspell words. I know there's like ways that you can write certain things like lol or love with LUV, but
mhm.
it's kind of like a borderline of, is he just saying that, or does he actually like not know how to write certain things? And maybe in the beginning you don't quite really want to do that as much.
Okay, I thought it was like more strict to the definition. It's like this fool at the chicken tender place trying to order a T-bone steak and be like, yeah, I'll take the let me get the ribeye. Like, yeah, sir, we don't sell ribeye. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll just take let me get a patty melt. And like, sir, we have three things on the menu. Can you pick one of them, please? What else you got, Julian?
Another one was no hobbies is a huge red flag, which that makes sense. Sort of. Everybody has their hobbies, but also some people are very focused on their career. So I can see like if they don't
Yeah.
have any hobbies, but for me, I think personally, having no hobbies is also a red flag because I mean, what else do you do? You can't just work. There has to be more things to it.
So let me ask you, because I've seen people like making fun of like especially like people in tech like, so what are your hobbies? And like something that I've seen pop up and like it seems to be getting a lot of hate. It's like it seems like the like people in tech like, oh, I like playing video games, rock climbing, like those like the 1 2. And like this girl's like, I've been on like 50 dates from people with tech, and like those are like the only answers I ever get. Like video games, rock climbing. And it seemed like those like I feel like a lot of the hobbies people put out there, like they're nice things like to advertise, but like I wonder are they truly into hiking?
Yeah,
Like, do they go backpacking or it's like, oh, I just like kind of going on a trail once a month with my dog.
yeah,
Like that's what I wonder about that question because to me it's uh like because I struggle like when's it just like something I kind of like doing here and then or what like because I think of a hobby I think the people who are doing it every weekend or
yeah,
you know uh spend a lot of time and money planning a big fishing trip. They try to go out to the local stream every weekend. I don't know. To me, that's a weird one because I mean, I'm in grad school. I don't have a lot of money for hobbies. Uh, Time. So like for me, it's like like I go to the movies, but some people are like, well, that's not a hobby. It's like something you do. I'm like, all right, like what do you do? And I don't
yeah.
know. To me, that's it could be a weird one depending on what the guy because like what I do with grad school. There's some things I'm in the lab a bunch. I'm writing. I'm reading. And then sometimes I just want to chill and watch TV.
Well, makes sense.
I do think that having a hobby, something that's unique to you, something that's like becomes a talent to you, like maybe it's like drawing or arts and crafts or playing an instrument. It's something that develops who you are as a person in throughout time, where it's something that you can't get out of watching a movie or like rock climbing could be one of those if you actually do that because it's something that you're constantly learning and developing about yourself. Something you're creating. You can't really do that with TV unless you're like such a huge movie buff that you're like really big into it and you're doing other things with it. Also, like video games, it could be if you're like a huge video game streamer, or you play video games for money, like you do challenges or tournaments. So the hobbies part, I guess, I understand why it would not having it would be a red flag, and why there's a particular um, term of what would be a hobby versus just saying like, oh, I go on a hike and I watch TV or go to the movie.
Let me ask you this: what if their job gives them those like growth opportunities?
I mean, yes, if your hobby is your job, I think you pretty much made it because your job is no longer your job. Your job is just something that you love to do.
Oh, that's what I mean. Because like you said that a hobby shows that you're working on something, you're bettering yourself. Uh, and maybe I'm just like focusing on myself here, but like I'm constantly having to learn new experimental setups. These are all things that make me a better scientist, better researcher.
I
Uh,
wouldn't really call that a
they
hobby way.
I know, but I'm saying like I think a lot of times what you get out of hobby is maybe what you're missing out of your professional career. A person who has the mundane job of doing the same thing, oil changes all day, all day, all
Yeah,
day. They might want to go home and create, but what if you have a creative outlet already? Uh,
You could
yeah,
have a hobby that turns into a career, which is like what you're doing is an example of that, where you've gone beyond it being a hobby. You're actually working. Your hobby has advanced further than just being a hobby, and I think that's fine. As long as you're being creative and you're constantly working on yourself through that and developing your brain, so developing your creativity, finding your limits, going past them, you know talking about them to other people, being passionate about it, that's beyond hobbies. I think that's exceptional.
People regardless, I think, should have hobbies. So to end this, I'm gonna have a two, well, three really honorable mentions that I wouldn't consider them red flags, but they're interesting. One of them is if they are in the Air Force and single at the age of 28. That sounds very personal, buddy. That sounds like somebody broke your heart right there.
Very specific.
I mean, I know part of that is like people typically get married when they join the military for more money.
Yeah.
So that might actually be more of a. I think they're saying like, why? If everybody's getting married, he's the only not married person.
Yeah.
Like like it stands out, but it's also like he might be one of the people who's actually waiting for true love. He's not just like, oh, I want to get the extra 10 grand a year
Yeah.
by having a spouse, getting spouse pay,
Yeah, that's true.
hazard pay.
And finally, these two go hand in hand, but one is names their initials and their name are JB, and then the other one is people named Julian.
I mean, you can
I
have trigger
mean,
names.
uh, I mean, I would say those are probably pretty accurate.
Hey. No, but I
Yeah.
think it's good for today. Thank you, everybody who answered the polls. I appreciate every single person that's answered it. We're gonna do a separate episode that's gonna be dating red flags, which will address the more long-term red flags that you don't see during the first date. And also, if you want to participate in these types of polls, add us on Instagram. I'll leave the handles here and over there and down there. And we might have some more polls and have some fun with this. I think it's really enjoyable for us to engage people and read those out within the episodes. You got anything for them, Gary?
No, that's it, man. Like and subscribe, and I appreciate the support.
Oh, yes. If you haven't liked and subscribed, like and subscribe to the Thank you, everybody. Take care.